Christian parenting.
Aloha, friends. Welcome to the Boy Mom Podcast, powered by Christian Parenting. I am Monica Swanson, mom to 4 boys, podcast host, and author of Boy Mom, What Your Son Needs Most from You. Here on the podcast, it's my goal to bring you practical advice and biblical wisdom for raising boys in this sometimes crazy world. You can always find show notes over at monicaswanson.com/podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Aloha, friends. Welcome back to the Boy Mom Podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. And we're calling today's episode number 99.5. And there's a reason for that. See, we've got a 100th episode coming up that I am so excited about. See, in the podcast world, 100th episode is kind of a big deal. It takes a lot to get there. And I really want to thank my listeners and this podcast community for helping me get there. And so I want it to be a big party. We're going to do giveaways. We've got clips that I'll be sharing from the most popular episodes so far, and it's just going to be a ton of fun. But I didn't want to share that episode this week because this is Holy Week. And this week, I want to focus my attention as much as possible on the meaning of Holy Week and on Jesus. And I want to encourage you to do the same. This week isn't about celebrating my podcast or anything else. It's about slowing down and meditating on what happened when Jesus made his way to Jerusalem and then suffered a brutal death on the cross because he loved us so much. He wanted to pay the price for our sins. And then, of course, Easter and the good news that Jesus rose from the dead and fulfilled his promise to us and promised that we too would rise to be with him in heaven one day. And so it's kind of a big deal. Like, it's the biggest week of the year, and that's where I want my focus to be. And so I wanted to keep this episode short and sweet. I want to encourage you to take extra time this week to spend with your family, to look up the scriptures where you can be reminded of what Holy Week is all about. And I will be linking in our show notes to exactly where you can read that story in the Bible. If you're not super familiar, that would be a great place to start with your family. I'm also going to link to a couple apps I have just recently found for Holy Week that have really helped me, especially one that's really focused on meditating on God's Word. And there's some special parts to it for Holy Week that I think you're going to enjoy, especially if you're like me and it's hard to slow down and kind of get focused. Well, you're going to love this. So I'm going to link to all of that in show notes. So be sure to go over to monicaswanson.com/episode 99.5. All right, but for today, I wanted to just share one little special treat. And so I invited my son Josiah to hop on a call with me. He's at Westmont College in Santa Barbara. He's a junior. He's 21 years old, but I had a memory of a little poem that he wrote back when he was in high school. And I loved that poem. So I called him and I'm like, hey, buddy, do you remember that poem? And he's like, oh, this one. And he started reciting it from memory, which didn't surprise me. I was like, yeah, would you share that with my podcast community? And he's like, sure, I'd love to. So we just hopped on and recorded a brief chat. He shares his Easter poem, and he gave me permission to put a copy of it in the show notes. So maybe you want to share it with your family as well. But I just really enjoyed having him hop on. I miss my kids so much during different holidays that we can't be together, but I'm so happy knowing that they are doing so well over there. And so anyway, I'm going to just let you listen in to my chat with Josiah, listen to him read his own poem, and then I'll have a few final words to say at the end. So thanks for being here, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, Josiah, welcome back on the Boy Mom Podcast.
It's good to be here.
It's good to be here. We're on video, so I get to see you in California, sunny California day. Great to connect with you across the ocean.
Beautiful day today.
Yeah. I heard you got sunburned during church.
Yeah, church is outdoors, and we were sitting there out in the grass, just soaking in the California sun.
I love it. Well, it's Holy Week, and I wish that we were together, but I know you're in good hands, and you have your brother Jonah there and a lot of friends, so I hope you have a wonderful Holy Week.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have some plans?
I think I'm just mostly busy with school, but I'm looking forward to a Friday service. We're actually doing a service on the beach at our church, and then a Sunday service as well. And so I'm looking forward to that. And we're also going to be having a 4-day weekend here at West.
Oh,
so
Nice.
get some time off.
I was going to say, are you going to stick around or are you going to hit the road like you usually do?
We'll see. I wanna be around for church, but if
Yeah,
I get the opportunity, Jonah and I have actually considered, going on a little camping trip, maybe just doing, like, a one-night thing somewhere.
fun.
Yeah,
I love it. Very cool. Well, as I was preparing to do this short podcast episode, I was reminded of something that you wrote a few years ago, and it was an Easter poem,
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't remember what this wasn't like a school assignment, it was just something you came up with?
Yeah. I think that when I was about 13 or 14, I started writing poetry, and it was really just a byproduct of me looking for ways to express myself that, I couldn't find in photography or
Mm,
videography, or even writing essays. I never really planned on writing poetry, but this was one of those things. I was marveling at the way that God tells stories and the way that
mm,
God is telling a meta story. Even as we speak, He's weaving together so many different mini
mm,
storylines into one large story. And so I wrote a poem about that.
mm. I love
And
it.
the center of the poem is really God's mission to save humanity through Jesus' sacrifice, through what He
Mm.
did on the cross. And I'm looking forward to sharing it.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it again. And then I'll also be putting a copy of it in our show notes so people can either read along or share it with their family later. But whenever you're ready, I'd love for you to read it to us.
All right, here goes. A king once made a special place, a place that he made good, a place where two could know him well, a place where two just would. The king gave them a strict command to keep or to deny. The two obeyed quite easily, but then the fall was nigh. Suddenly a dragon came to steal from the king the two whom he had loved so much by giving them this thing. This thing seemed awesome to the two, and it was known by pride. The two then broke their kingdom's bonds to find the beast had lied. The king left them to live alone with no escape but death. He gave their sons another way, to give through them a breath. The people had to sacrifice a pure and perfect life, to keep the bonds with their old king in their rebellious strife. It was soon that they forgot the true accounts of old. The king devised a lovely plan, the best one to be told. He sent his son, his only son, to do a precious deed. He'd sacrifice his own dear life and save them by his bleed. The son then took upon himself the wrath of God above. The wrath was never his to take. He spared them by his love. Jesus' mission was to save and take back what was lost. In pain he suffered on that tree and paid in full their cost. Jesus died a sinner's death, was taken to a tomb. Then 3 days by, an angel came beside an empty room. Jesus conquered death for good. He proved it on his own. He is not in that tomb today. He sits upon the throne. And those who now remember this can come to know the Lord. The King awaits with open arms to offer great reward. This King gave such a sacrifice to free all from their wrong. The King is bringing back his realm. It's where we all belong.
Beautiful. And it's titled An Easter Poem, right?
A poem for Easter.
A poem for Easter. Thank you, Josiah. I love it so much. And I'll make sure to include it in the show notes. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
You bet. We appreciate that. And I hope you keep writing poems. It's been a little while since I've heard a new one. So,
I'm still writing poems.
oh, good. Well,
I'm
you
just
should
I'm just
send me
not
one.
sharing them.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, well, I'm going to let you go and get back to your studies. And we all wish you a very happy Holy Week. Hopefully, a certain box will make it to you this week that might have some goodies in it from the Easter Bunny and your mom.
All right.
Love you, Saya.
Sounds good.
God bless.
Yeah, I love you too.
Talk,
Thank you so much for having me.
talk soon. All right, friends, thanks again for taking a few minutes to join me during this Holy Week. I hope you do have a wonderful rest of your week. Please spread the word that next week's going to be a big party. And I should give you one more little heads up. There will be a bunch of giveaways going on here in the episode as well as in show notes, but there's also going to be a couple giveaways that are only going out to those on my email subscriber list. So if you want the good stuff, I'm going to encourage you to join my email list at monicaswanson.com/subscribe. I typically send out one email a week. I make it as good as I can. I never share your email. I would never spam you in my wildest dreams, because that's the worst ever, right? I deal with it every day. But I take good care of my email subscribers. So I'd love to invite you to be a part of that community, and then you'll be entered to win a few extra giveaways next week as well. So spread the word. Episode 100 is going to be a big deal. And guys, in the meantime, have a wonderful Holy Week. God bless you and your family. I hope you have a fun Easter celebration. I know nothing quite looks like normal this year, but we're getting there. Okay, so hang on tight and take good care of each other. And I will look forward to seeing you next week. Aloha.